So we go from the hybrid circuit nature that is Albert Park, we head over to the desert that is known as Bahrain. Welcome to the Transnation Esports Assist Tier Division 1. I'm Brett Keenan, joined in commentary by Michael Garoon Jr. And we have got our top tier going to be going at it, as well as tier 2 and tier 3 commentated by the others. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't even think to check to see if Bailey was actually up, but I'm supposing that since there's not really any complaints going on in tier 2, I don't think. Oh yeah, so Bailey said he was going to be about 5 minutes late, so that's fine. So anyway, Michael, we're here at the CDKeys International Circuit in Bahrain. It's been part of the F1 calendar since 2004. It's been host to many great races over the past, but as of 2014 they announced it was going to become a night race, and since then we've seen it pretty much go by it. Just your own personal thoughts on something. Would you prefer to see it as a night course, or would you continue to see it go back to the day course?
I like the night. I like the cars shining under the lights. You know, we've seen in the past people do, I mean, can't really do it as much now, but they do the special helmets where they shine in the night under the floodlights. So I do like some nighttime racing. It makes for just a little more appealing to the eye.
Yeah, but it also means for people like me, you have to get up at 3 in the morning just to watch the race if need be. So I think our local weather guy, Stuart Leslie, has just provided us with our local weather for the day. But you know, honestly, if I saw anything less than dry all weekend, I'd be pleasantly surprised. So we'll just have a quick look at that. So no, actually it's surprisingly it's my partner's little brother. So hello Jamie, welcome to the broadcast. Hope you enjoy the racing that is about to nice one, Albert. Albert just come chiming in saying rain in 1 minute, so it'll be interesting. One of the most interesting features about this weekend's racing is that we see the return of our dedicated racing numbers for multiplayer, which honestly I'm devastated about, because you know, as much as I love running the number 97 as any person, you know, running the number 5, the number I actually want to run, having it for Australia I suppose was alright, and putting it in P7 for the weekend I guess was a pretty good outcome, despite what most would think. So the Bahrain International Circuit, it's a very interesting manner in which most people call it a power track, but realistically it's more of a performance track, and this is why we used it as one of the 2 tracks for our evaluation process, because it's got the speed in the 3 straights, well 4 straights I suppose if you call that small burst between turns 10 and 11, well 9 and 10, but it also has such characteristic flowing corners where such as turn 1, turn 9, we actually have to be very hard on the brakes to make a move. We'll go on board and do a virtual lap. It's not the greatest TCAM, so I do apologise. I will work on fixing that. So on board here with Pedro Diaz, who we've finally managed to find his last name with. So heading down the main straight towards turn 1, you've got to be so dedicated to where you're braking here, hard on the brakes into turn 1. He goes a little bit wide than he would want to. Try to get the speed up to turns 2 and 3. DRS down the back straight towards turn 4. You want to size yourself up here. This is an overtaking opportunity. Hard on the brakes into 3rd gear. It's hard to see actually because I don't actually see the dash from this point, so we might just turn the telemetry on just so we can help that through. 5th gear through turns 5 and 6, and then into 7. You just got to be careful about how you position the car through here because it can spit you out. Turn 8 and then turn 9, double apex corner, hard on the brakes. 2nd gear, maybe 1st if you don't feel like the car's turning in, onto the DRS down the back straight, filtering through the gears. 7th gear, just touching on 8th gear as you hit the 100 metre board, and then dip it into the corner. He goes into 4th gear. I'd probably usually take about 3rd just to get the nose more in. And then through the infamous 11, if you hit that curb, it's game over. Into 12, another double apex corner. He just ripples the strip a little bit, which causes him a bit of imbalance down the straight. Now this personally I thought would be a DRS zone. Teddy's just done a 26-1 to cap things off in this race. And then around the last corner, you don't really want to be hitting that curb too much because it can spit you out if you don't hit it right down the DRS. And he'll cross the line and he'll set a 26-6 for his opening account. So not too bad a time. So. And we've got Charlie Mino already on pace with a 26-1. Now remember, he was the form guide on most accounts in this race. So in the regional,
It's a good lap right out the gates.
It's a 6/10 buffer for Amar Singh there as he goes to the top with a 25-4.
See what Piers Langford's got.
Yeah, so he goes
25-1.
And he looks like he's also sporting a different racing number this weekend as well. Usually the number 97 for racing looks like he's running the 88 for this weekend. So keeping in touch with the Red Bull numbers of the Australian Supercar Championship. So he's either running 88 or 97. One of the two seemed to work out all right. Oliver Coleman's done... Sorry, I've got that set to the leader. I should set that to the fastest lap. So a 26-2 for Oliver Coleman. I'll just have a look through the comments because they are starting to flood in a little bit. So clear all weekend. What a surprise from Leslie Stewart. Monster Blue for pole from Albert Ramirez Garcia. No, as for Lamborghini, no, there aren't any Lamborghinis in Formula One. There have been widespread rumours throughout the paddock over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years about the prospect of Lamborghini becoming a part of the Formula One community, but obviously finances have kind of fell through. We are expected to get Alfa Aston Martin in next season, and of course we do expect to see Racing Point take that, and we do have a hunch that Sebastian Vettel will be racing in one of those cars, so we'll be waiting with bated anticipation.
Hasn't Porsche said that they have a hybrid power unit ready for F1 minus an MGUH?
Yeah, they have they do have an interest in the sport, but I just don't know if anyone's going to be too willing to take a gamble of a new power unit.
I read that the power unit is ready and developed, with the exception of the MGUH, and they're trying to get F1 to remove that because they don't want to develop that component.
Albert just followed through. You mean Vettel in a Mercedes? Yeah, you pretty much, at the moment, you could pretty much stipulate that. So yeah, for people who don't really know what's going on, basically we've pretty much, well, not just us, but the whole F1 community is pretty much stipulated into the prospect of Racing Point just being Mercedes Mark II. Obviously looking like the Mercedes set with pink colours. They're using the same brakes, which I think in between Australia, obviously in between Australia and today, the stewards' hearing had been made, and Racing Point are appealing it. But from what I hear, they're going to still be allowed to use those controversial brakes. It's just that every weekend that they do, they get a reprimand. Now, I personally find that to be very stupid. That you are allowed to use an illegal component, and all you're basically doing is getting told off for doing it every time.
I mean, it seems like a pretty, 15 points, a little bit of a fine to use something illegal seems like a pretty good deal to me.
I personally would think if the FIA should have been saying, you can use those brakes as much as you want, so long as you don't mind getting copped a 15-point penalty in the constructors every time you do it. Which would be the incentive.
They'll be leaving the track with minus points.
Exactly, so it would be the incentive for Racing Point to actually kind of buck their ideas up and get those brakes off their system. Yes, it's obviously a lot easier said than done with all these back-to-back weekends, but I'm sure it's not that hard to outsource your old brakes from last season, which I'm sure would be able to fit on the car reasonably okay. It's hard to say. They're just brake ducts. It's not like it's a whole brake component system. Anyway, we'll go back to the qualifying. at the moment. Jerome Nicholas has done a 26.5 now. I believe that was actually done on the medium, so that's a pretty representative time for someone on the mediums, compared to obviously Pedro, who's done a 26.6 on the soft. So not too bad. The two DXT boys have yet to actually set a lap in. Now these two actually had a pretty good race last weekend out in Australia. Qualifying didn't exactly go to plan for Anthony, but he still managed to circulate himself onto a podium finish. Or no, actually no, I think it was a top 5. No, it was a top 4. No, sorry, it was a top 5 because Piers Langford did get him at the end, didn't he?
If I remember correctly.
So we know that
a little bit of towing going on.
Yeah, we know that Langford has got the pace to win, but he doesn't necessarily have the overall consistency to pull it off. So that was Anthony giving up a lap to Boniface, who goes P3 with a 26.1, not bad, but immediately dethroned by Theodore, and then dethroned again by Oliver, who does a 25.7. So the two Alphas are definitely looking like the dark horses in this season's Constructors' Championship. You and I were kind of putting our money on Mercedes and maybe Red Bull being a bit of a prime contender, but Alfa Romeo have definitely shown their hand as genuine constructors. They are currently leading the constructors as we speak anyway, with of course Piers only finishing P4 and Jerome not finishing the Australian race, so Alfa Romeo do hold quite a sizable constructors lead.
Yeah, it's a weird one because you got Amar and Oliver, two drivers who have proven what they could do in Alpha, and then the two Mercedes drivers, Piers and Jerome. I think they're two guys that are very quick, but still have to prove themselves. There's no doubting that Piers has an advantage in pace in everybody here in Assist Tier 1, but it's going to be about keeping his races clean and avoiding incidents.
To answer your question, Jamie, about which Mercedes has the highest horsepower, well, that would just be the Mercedes out in general. In this particular predicament, Jamie, all the cars are made equal, so there's no actual real definition on who has the fastest car in this category. It's more about who's got the setup that allows more downforce in the car to have a higher top speed down the straights, and those who are looking more at the cornerability of the corners of the track. So just to give you I'll give everyone a bit of an understanding, a bit of technical insight onto, I mean, obviously I say this, but obviously I can never put this into my own practice, so I can talk it up, but I can't back it up with my driving. So Bahrain is obviously a construct of two main principles, which is high-end straights and a lot of flowing corners. So the tyres do cop a beating around here, most specifically the left-hand side. So with a lot of right-hand corners, I think it's let me just have a check there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to the right and 6 to the left. The left-hand side does cop a lot more load than the others, so 24.8. So this is Tier 1 no assist territory right here. Yeah, I swear, if he turned off his ABS, he would actually be an honest-to-God genuine contender for the top tier championship. Maybe, I mean, let's say even if we took 5 tenths off that time, that's still
looking at a 25.3,
which would be slower than Amar, because Amar's done a 25.2.
Yeah, but just slower.
So and Amar's in the same boat. Amar is all assists off apart from ABS. So if these two turn ABS off, they'd be pretty genuine contenders. But yeah, so back to the point. So so with so much load on the left-hand tire, you've got to be able to make your car sit a lot better on the. So tire pressures can play a part of it, but it also comes down to how you approach your wing structure. If you've got a car that's going to be straight in a quick line, it's going to suffer in the corners, which means higher loads, and your tires are going to cop a whack for it. We'll just have a look and see who's done what. We'll just see if there's anyone else on a lap. Theodore was just on an out lap. at the moment. But it's a very tricky track to kind of find the right setup balance for a race trim. Obviously with qualifying you're going to look for a car with high end speed, the ability to not so much basically, you know, in qualifying you throw shit to the wind, you throw your car into the corners, you kind of hope you get lucky with it, so you always will try and take a car that's got a good qualifying precedence. However, in the race, that's going to chew your tyres up, that's going to eat you up compared to drivers who are using more aerodynamic styled setups where they get into the corners nicely. Yes, there'll be a bit of a boat in the straight line, but they're going to look after their tyres so much better. In this game, in this race, it's a tyre game. This race can be won on tyre strategy alone, and I'm sure you would agree with me on that one there, Michael.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. I think you'll see 2 or 3 different viable strategies. And then from there, it'll just depend on...
place, 25 flat.
Ooh. That's a good lap from him. But, yeah, it's going to just depend on what strategy is going to be best for the conditions and the circumstances of the race. Seen people do soft medium, seen people do soft hard, and then I've seen people talking about doing a soft medium soft. So even I think you said thinking about doing a soft medium as well. So
well, actually I was looking more along the lines of doing soft medium soft, just kind of take a different approach to it. But obviously when you look at there's quite a bit of debate going on about the pad hack sort of aspect behind it. Yeah, this track does probably cater more towards pad users than it does wheel users, but that doesn't necessarily tip the scale completely out of kilter in that regard. It just means that it may maybe yield a 1 or 2 tenth gain, maybe a little bit. Who knows? It's hard to say because obviously you would have to have someone that's equated to both wheel and pad. So what I'm meaning is you actually have to be you'd have to be quick on the wheel, but as equally quick on the pad to be able to make that perfect judgment. So obviously wheel users are going to complain about the pad users. Pad users are going to continue to feign ignorance to it. So unless you've got someone that's got skill in both aspects of it, that can do a lap around the track and show you the varying differences that would make one aspect of the players different to the other, then you could have your valid argument. So it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously I'm just trying to look through the list. I think every single person in this lobby is a pad user.
I think you might be correct.
I mean, I don't know much about David Crean in PA. I don't know much about Charlie Mino in P4, but I know Pierre, Jerome, Oliver, and Amar all use pads. Theodore, I think, is a pad user. Boniface, God, he'll kill me for not remembering this. I think he's a pad user. Anthony is definitely a pad user, because he often complains about manual gears.
Stuart Leslie is on the pad, I believe.
Yeah, so pretty much, we'll just say 95% of the field on on confirmed nature, 5% speculation. But yeah, so it's hard to make a genuine analysis on that since we don't have any wheel users, presumably. We are missing a lot of people in today's race compared to last weekend where we had a nice 18. We're down to 11 for this week. We should have had 12, but I think Damon Bower missed the aspect. He did say he was expected to race today, so I don't know what's happened there, but obviously we'll get to the bottom of it in time. So Jamie asked why are there 3 DXTs. So DXT is a racing esports team, Jamie. So these are people that come together and create a team that goes around racing in leagues and representing that name and trying to make that name big in the esport racing community. So you'll see in roughly about an hour and a half's time, you'll see CPI and GeForce in the no assist tier 1. So you'll have your GeForce esports team and your CPI esports team. So people these days seem to think esports teams are cool when they want to join up and represent their name in the sporting world. Personally,
Mar with a slight improvement.
Yeah, 25-1. To each their own, I believe. I don't personally look at it as anything more than you're just racing against fellow people who are eager like you to, you know, spread your name. And if you're in a big team, I think, I'm just trying to think what the bigger, TRL was probably, oh no, TRL's the league, isn't it? Oh no, it was an esports team. So if you look at your likes of TRL, Limitless and all that, so there are some pretty big names that harbour within esports team. And of course esports has become so much bigger in the world of things. Obviously the Formula 1 Championship have their own esports championship, which I don't think will be happening this season. Let's be real about that. The Supercars had an esports championship in between the season for COVID reasons, and in fact I think a lot of sports did really. Even Formula 1 had their own kind of non-affiliated championship. Jerome crosses the line, he improves his time just marginally, not enough to dethrone his teammate, but it was an improvement. I think it was like a 1/100th of a second improvement. 0.2 of a second though, that is a quite, even by technical standards, that is a huge gap for
Yeah, that's a gap you love to see as a competitor. If you're the person with that gap.
We've offended Leslie, so apparently he is a wheel user.
Oh, is he? I should have known that.
Yeah, I should have as well. So
Coincidentally,
unfortunately he qualifies outside the top
of the field.
I don't think that's in contrast to the situation, but yeah, it's interesting that a 26.9 plays a 24.8, so that's a lot of time to be off the pace on. But I'm sure he's obviously, I would say Stuart will be running a slightly less aggressive setup than everyone else, and be looking to he's just telling us to shut up. But yeah, he's definitely looking to running a more tyre friendly setup for today's race. So
I mean, he'll be the only driver in the field with a free choice of tyre, so
yeah, exactly. So he could start on the mediums, go to the hards, or go to the hards, start on the hards, go straight to the softs.
He might have pulled a big brain move and qualified last on purpose.
I see where people get from and when doing it, but when you've got a whole field of cars in front of you, yeah, you've got the better tyre, but you've got to always take into account that turn 1 here has always been quite a messy outlook. I think the Sunday Night League wasn't the greatest of turn 1s. The Monday, I think, was actually quite smooth, but obviously there was quite a few incidences in both races too, especially the safety car restart in the Sunday Night League race. That was
in US regionals.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't remind me.
So anyway, we'll run through the DXT starting grid for the Tier 1 assist region, and it's Piers Langford in pole position with a beautiful lap of a 24.8, and he'll have his teammate Jerome Nicholas alongside, 2/10 off the pace. And then it's the two Alfa Romeo drivers of Amar Singh and Oliver Coleman that make up positions 3 and 4. Charlie Mino in the Renault showing his evaluation form in P5, and defending Tier 4 champion DXT Jake Anthony in position 6. Then it's Pedro Diaz in position 7 with David Creedon in P8. Theodore Dragesi in position 9, and Alex Boniface, who was originally as far as P3 at one point, starts on the back end of the top 10. And then of course, as you say, Stuart Leslie on the variant strategy in position 11, and he has elected to start on the medium tyre, so he'll be looking to go longer in the first stint. He'll be looking to hope that nobody gets in his way, or that he can get through the first few laps in one piece. These strategies always rely on the need for clean air and for clean racing too, so the last thing he's going to want to have to deal with is a safety car in the middle of his stint. So he's going to want to hope that these guys be clean and fair into turn 1 and throughout the whole entirety of the race. If we can get through a green race, it would be a win in their books. I actually just noticed on the halo of the Mercedes, it says end racism, and I couldn't agree more on that. Obviously the Mercedes striking a beautiful black livery for the whole season in response to the Black Lives Matter campaign. It went from a pretty average looking F1 car to probably one of the better presented cars on the grid, so it's amazing what a touch of black paint can do to a car's entire complexity. And it's definitely showing its form. So here we go. So the lights are going to build up. Of course, we have the start line glitch because I'm hosting. So the revs build. Jerome's ghosting, which almost suggests he's paused. There's 2 jump starts. Theodore and Pedro have both jumped the start. I'm thinking there might have been
start glitch.
Yeah, I think for Theodore and for Pedro, I think the start lights had dropped earlier than what everyone else's did, and the game's then decided it's picked him up as jumping the start, so both have done it, but Pedro does lead the race, so he's come from, where was he? He was he was about P7, so he's come from P7 up to the lead. So, I mean, if he got that start legitimately, that would have been the start of the ages. But
yeah, he's up 6.
So incredible start, but of course it is compounded by a drive-through. So he's going to need to get on with this and try and. I mean, he's got 3 laps, so the end game could be that he tries to hold these guys up and then wear their tyres out. So when he does serve the drive-through, it does hurt the. It allows him to catch back up, but I would personally probably just get it straight over and done with. Theodore is going to be joining him, so he's going to at least have someone to race with. But yeah, surprisingly, everyone very clean out of turn 1, and pretty clean throughout the whole race. Leslie has made no ground at all. In fact, pretty much excluding Pedro, who's about to now dive into the pits and change that outlook, nobody's actually changed race position. So everyone's pretty much stayed in the same position from where they started from. Now obviously the 2 jump start candidates, we got to move back there. I think that was that Anthony and Boniface? Yep, so no, that was Boniface and Creedon. So I think Creedon just made a move on Boniface's position. And Leslie will be happy about that, so he'll be wiping a bit of sweat off his brow and now getting on with it, because he'll be wanting to make sure that he stays with these guys as much as he can, so that when the tyres start to die off for the soft runners, it will play into his hands. We've got a yellow flag. Someone's gone off. Oh, that's one of the alphas. That's a Mar. So Mar's had a bit of a moment at turn 5, and that's turn 6. Sorry. Well,
oh, that's a good bit of wing.
Yeah.
Good bit of wing he's missing.
That was one thing I forgot to mention in the qualifying. It's the exit of turn 6 is a massive hotspot for people getting it wrong. So all you have to do is just be that slightest bit offline, mount that outside curb, and it will spit you out like dog's dinner. So it's a very tricky corner to get right, especially under heavy fuel load. So the cars, like I say, they've got race fuel in them now, so they're a lot heavier. If you're running a high-speed setup, then obviously the car's going to understeer quite a lot. So you can usually, if you can get turn 5's entry right, turn 6 is nearly a flat-out approach in qualifying. Definitely not as much in race trim, but not bad from Jerome to actually be staying with his teammate. And Oliver's done a good job as well to stick to the back of these two as well. He's only just on the bubble of DRS.
Pretty surprised Piers hasn't broken away early on.
And on top of that as well, we've just seen Amar come in, and he's come onto the mediums as well. So you could say that he's now running Leslie's strategy. It's just obviously 3 laps in, and he's now 18 seconds off the next driver, and in total he is now 42 seconds off the lead.
Yeah.
So Amar's got a bit of work to do, our race winner from Australia. Meanwhile, it looks like the top 3 have now broken each other out of DRS. I don't think Jerome has DRS on Flip Piers, and Oliver doesn't have it on the thing. So they're all separated now by 1 second. So, and they're broken away from Charlie Mino, who has got Anthony, who does have DRS, as does David Creedon. Did I just see? I could have sworn I just saw a front wing flying off on the main straight, but that might have been my imagination. So, looking back to the 2 drive-through candidates, they're only 13 seconds behind Leslie, so that's not too much of a loss given the circumstances. Pedro probably had it a little bit easier on the fact that he was in the lead when this all came about, whereas Theodore, I think, was P9, so he's only lost 1 spot through it all. But Jerome now on the attack, he's actually gotten himself into DRS range of Piers, so whether Piers is just conserving tyres or Jerome's going on the attack remains to be seen, but definitely we could see a battle here for the lead between these two. Not really sure what the connection between these two would be like. They're an opposing eSports team. Obviously, Piers is with DXT, and Jerome, who originally was with DXT, moved to rival team ASR, which I think is actually of his own creation, so I'm a bit surprised he's not sporting his own eSports banner on his own thing, but he's got DRS now on Piers.
Anthony's closing in on Charlie.
Will there be a move made into turn 1?
Never mind.
Ooh. You kind of sit there and you kind of think, well, you probably could have opened the door, maybe brought the nose in and see if the opposition didn't flinch or something.
Anthony's saving a lot of ZRS, so.
Yeah, actually, what is the ARS looking like? So between
He's
Piers
at
and
90.
Yeah, so yeah, he's on 90s, but between the top 2, it's pretty even Stevens. So it's actually Oliver who's actually copping quite a bit of a hard hit with his ERS. He's down to just under 40%. So I think Oliver's trying absolutely everything in his book to stay with these two. I've got a yellow flag. That's Amar again. That's at turn 3, which is not too hard to do. Has he done more? Yeah, he has done more damage to his wing, so it's just not getting any better. And if judging by where he is versus where the field is, he could end up a lap down based on this. So
he's gonna have to motor his way back to the pits with that wing. So
yeah, so you know, when you go from the success of Australia to the fumblings of Bahrain, it's quite a hard situation to grasp by. And this is my personal belief. This is why I think ABS is such a bad assist, because when you lock up in with ABS off, you've got more control of how you apply traction out of corners. But with ABS, you're carrying so much more speed in, because obviously you can brake a lot later, and because of that there's so much limited slip in it that as soon as you put your foot down, the car just doesn't want to have a bar of it. So I reckon ABS is the more common cause of a driver losing traction than having it off.
I'd have to agree with that.
Oh, Jerome only just on the 1 second mark as he hit the DRS activation zone. I'm surprised. I would have thought the DRS would not have activated based on, because it has to be under a second, and he was smack bang on the second. But he's doing a good job, I have to admit. I've underestimated. I'll admit, going into the season, I kind of didn't put Jerome quite nearly as far forward as I anticipated he is, but he's doing a good job at the moment to stay with his teammate. He hasn't necessarily got the pace to get to him, but he's got the pace at least to stay on him. And obviously then comes a bit of a strategy play, so he will obviously want to try and vary into strategy. Now that's a Mar just in front of them. So he's managed to avoid going a lap. He's avoided a lap down, but it's only what would that gap be roughly? Maybe about
probably about 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
He'll be given the blue flags almost very shortly. Theodore and Pedro are now in combat.
Oh.
Why is Theodore ghosting all of a sudden? I know I've got ghosting off. That's interesting. So has Amar given up the spot? No, he hasn't just yet, but I would think that with the tyres now 6 laps in for the soft runners, I would say that they're just starting to see their best. And obviously Amar, even though he's on cold hards, he would be starting to pull away just a little bit. The gap does look to have just inched away in Amar's favour in this battle between the two, and there's still ghosting going on.
Ghosting in between each other.
So I wonder if... I know that there is a desync ghosting process where if a driver is desyncing too much, they do ghost to avoid... Oh, and a speeding pit lane penalty for Jerome. Just a little too eager. There is a problem that I find with the pit lane for Bahrain, is that the DRS zone sits just on the smack bang point of the pit lane entry. So you go to turn into pit lane and you don't see the prompt to turn your pit limiter on, because the DRS takes over it. So since he would have been a DRS of thing for a stop, he would have been unable to see where the pit lane speed limiter was, so he didn't slow down in time. So that's going to cost him, but obviously he's doing the undercut, which should... And suggesting on this, it actually suggests to me that Jerome is actually going for the 2-stop here.
Yeah, I don't think at this stage you'd be able to take the mediums all the way to the end.
Theodore's in, strangely. Was that a front wing change or something? I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
Oh no, he started on the soft, so no, that's a strategy play.
Okay.
So we're just waiting to see. Okay, so according to Tainsley, who's commentating, Tier 2 had a lobby glitch, so they must be running a bit behind, which probably isn't good for Bailey's practicing performance. He'll probably just dip. I'd imagine, knowing him, he'll just dip before the race is finished. What happened to Amar? He came off at turn 6 and broke his front wing there, and then he came off again at 3, about 3 laps after that. So it hasn't been a good run for Amar. His teammates now coming into the pits for a new set of hard tyres, so Ola are going for the 1-stop, and Jerome should easily clear him. Leslie now up to P4, so his strategy to run longer on the mediums is going to take effect now. He's got some pretty good clean air between him and Charlie Mino. That's about 5 seconds. And then Charlie's got a 2-second buffer to Anthony, who's electing to stay out. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if Anthony and Pierre are both going to try and do the 1-stop from soft to mediums, which they're coming up to the window where it's plausible, but arguably you don't want... See, I did a race run last night where I actually took the softs to lap 12. They were about 5th, I think at worst. The worst one was about 68%, and that was on the front left. and the pace drop off was only 9/10 of a second a lap. So that wasn't too bad, but that was also on tyres that had done 2 laps on qualifying. So that's a total of 14 laps on a set of softs. So it can be done. It's just that you'd be... Okay, so he's taken a very different...
hard.
So he's just gone longer. And Pedro has crashed at the auto spin curb. Is that going to bring out a full course yellow or a virtual? Anyone that gets pits now under a
safety car.
Full course. So this is going to help no one, actually. In fact, if anything, this has hurt Charlie Mino big time. But for Charlie, this... Well, actually, I say it hurts him, but actually... This could be an opportunity to pit for the mediums and go to the end.
Yeah, this might play into his hands.
It doesn't.
Stewart's strategy.
Yeah, Stewart's strategy is completely like I said in the starter. Oh well, that doesn't help. That clearly doesn't help.
Yeah, but he's not even in the pits.
No, but he would have, because remember when you...
under safety car.
Yeah, he's done it under the safety
I
car
thought that
delta.
said speeding in the pits.
Did it say speeding under the pits?
I could have swore it did.
Maybe check the race director and confirm that one, but yeah, clearly he's gone over...
Oh yes, under safety car.
Yeah, so he's gone over the delta, he hasn't slowed down enough. And yeah, that's going to put pay to what would have been an amazing strategy point. But yes, like I said, Stewart needed clean racing right to his pit window, which I think, based on the mediums, it would have been about maybe 15, 16.
He still can pit here for the...
Well, yeah, he's electing to, so... It's probably the best thing to do, because you're going to lose ground anyway by pitting under green conditions as it is, so you might as well take the hit. Charlie's gone on the hards as well, so nobody's really taking... I mean, we don't know what entirety that Jerome... Actually, Jerome's come back in.
Jerome's pit and service 5 seconds as well.
And so he's jumped onto hards too, so... He's got a bit of work to do now to claw his way back through the field. Obviously, you're going to have Charlie serve a drive through, which is going to put him out of the running. This has saved Amar's race almost. If he can get, I mean, the big thing is if he can get back to the back of the queue, which...
He's got to get on it to try to do that.
Yeah, he's going to need to floor it. And that was one of the interesting things about the Australia race for Tier 2 no assists. We had a safety car about 3 laps away from the end. And obviously oh no, he's pitting. Oh no, mate, he shouldn't be pitting. You're just further pushing your luck on that one. Anyway, the safety car came out. I had 18 seconds of penalties. The guy in front of me, which was Harry, had 21 seconds of penalty, so I'm kind of sitting there thinking we're both screwed on this, but because the field was so packed out, like bunched out, only the top 3 caught the safety car. So the top 3 got to the back of the safety car, and the safety car basically came out, and then as it went around to do the singular lap, it came straight back in. So me and Harry, by the time that the safety car went into the pits and those guys were just getting up to speed, we got to the second to last corner and carried the momentum through to the last corner. So we were right in the pace on the safety car restart, whereas those guys were really hurt by it. So, comment there by Matthew Elliott, oh yeah, mediums. Not sure in what relation... Oh, so yeah, so Amar has gone to the medium, so obviously lap 12 is a more likely option to get to the end, but I think Amar's saving grace so far has been that the safety car did not come in that lap, so he'll get to the back. Well, He may get to the back. It might be a bit touch and go. Because he's just coming down the back straight now, or the straight heading to the last corner. I call it the back straight just because it's obviously longer than what the back straight actually is. So he's coming down the main straight. He'll... Surprised he didn't actually punch out the fastest lap of the race. I would have thought, based on that, he'd be going full glory. And he won't be being hindered by any forced slowing, so he should be up to pace.
He's just gonna get there.
Around the thing. We'll just have a look in sector 1 and see if he punches out any purple numbers. Not that it shows on the map.
800ths off his personal best.
And who does hold the fastest lap currently? I imagine it's actually Jerome with a 29.41, and then Amar's on a 20.0. So if he's up on his personal, it could likely be that he could make it. Now, no word on the safety car yet, although Pierre is giving quite a nice little berth between him and the safety car, which is usually the subject of what ending up with restart opt-ups. I'm surprised the safety car's actually staying out for another lap. Oh no, that's a really late call from the safety car.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the latest I've ever seen on the game.
This is going to cause a bit of congestion.
Yeah, for sure.
Pierre should have really have gone a little bit earlier than that, in my personal opinion, but the lights are out and lights green and we're back racing, so Amar did make it to the back of the train. Everyone seems to have gotten through without any wing damage and no 5-second penalties to play for either. Amar's already making a move on Theodore here and doesn't quite get it done. The field all spreads through. I would have thought Charlie would have served his drive-through straight from the word go, but obviously he probably thought he couldn't do it, so he'll wait one more lap to serve it.
Whoa.
Leslie's had a bit of a moment. He's dropped a few spots. There's quite a bit of a congestion of differences in the tyre strategy. So you've got some medium runners like Theodore and Amar who should by virtue start to pull their way through the field. But obviously as it gets up to position 6, obviously where Jerome is, that's going to start to get harder and harder. Of the medium runners, Charlie and Jerome are the freshest users, but we can throw Charlie out of that mix in pretty much the end of this lap because he will serve his drive-through penalty for speeding under pit lane or speeding under safety car. No doubt the last thing he's going to want to do is disqualify himself. Why not? So in he comes, one would assume. Want to be careful about the pit lane speed limit. He does it right to the touch, so well done. Amar's now clawed his way up to P8. And again, another instance of Theodore ghosting people. So I'm wondering if it's not so much as, I wonder if it's just because of Theodore's desyncing. I know Theodore doesn't have the greatest internet, and that was on the account of his multitudes of disconnections in last season's European Championship, where I think I had to invite him like nearly 8 or 9 times in one race. But maybe this is Codemaster's solution, other than just trying to straight out kick the person out, is just to ghost their car, which does give Theodore a bit of an unfair advantage in the way that he can overtake people and just ghost through them.
Yeah, that's a little bit touch and go.
I mean, it's obviously hard to say. I mean, for all I know, I could have accidentally left ghosting on, but even so, ghosting only works on the basis when a driver makes a very dangerous overtake or a lunge that's going to cause an incident.
Yeah, or if the car is going a lap down.
So Jerome has clawed his way back up to P4. but he's got Theodore right up behind him, and of course Theodore does have the medium tyre, so he should be, oh look at that, he's straight on the back, but Jerome knows he's likely to be attacked here, so he's going to go defensive. We should, and there it goes again, see look, he's ghosting again. Although this time,
that's a weird one.
Although this time Theodore looked like he made a mistake because he didn't actually get off the acceleration out of 3 as well. In fact, it looked like he actually lost traction because he must have thought he was going to hit Jerome, but even with DRS, he just wasn't able to get up the inside into 3 or 4, I should say. Monster Blue, well, Piers Langford is now gapping the field 2.2 seconds over Oliver in the space of a couple of laps, and Anthony has done a good job to hold down position 3 after starting, I think it was P5, so he's made up 2 spots. Jerome's obviously dropped for 3 spots so far, but he's slowly but surely clawing onto the back of Anthony, but at the same time he's also bringing Theodore along with him. It's gone a bit quiet in the comm box question sheet, so it'll be interesting to find out. I would say Theodore's would have been on the account of his internet. That would have been why he jumped the start, so that's where I think that's come from. Pedro, not so sure. Maybe it's of the same instance, we don't know, but we could always change the hosting opportunities and maybe pass that one on to Boniface to see if we can get around that for next weekend at Vietnam.
So Mars working his way back up pretty efficiently. Already back up in a P6.
So he's definitely working his way through, and he is on the faster tyre too, so the next driver on his list is of course another medium user who's right on the back of Anthony. And yeah, so after this race weekend, fellas, we go to Vietnam, which we do tonight for the Oceania, so if you want to see me crash, tune in. So Theodore trying to look for a way around that Williams of Anthony. Anthony looks like he just hasn't got quite the pace on these hard tyres that he'd like. Jerome cleared him quite easily. Theodore, probably you don't want to be using too much overtake right now because you're going to obviously have... Oh, we got Creedon in the fence. That's a long way back to be in the wall. Well, a long way forward to be in the wall. Let's see. That's a virtual, but let's see, where is he? That's a long way to be.
How did he get all the way over there?
It could be that he lost the rear and maybe he had a few snaky moments before the car just finally snapped out of control. It's hard to say, but that's a very interesting place to have put the car into the wall. So this doesn't really help anyone in that regard, although Charlie Mino is pitting. And he is going for the medium, so obviously this will just be a punt to get off the hards, because the hards aren't actually a really nice tyre, let's be real about that. It is the optimal strategy from one-stopping from soft to hard, but obviously people will be looking at Oliver's.
Oliver gets a drive through.
So that's going to put Jerome back into second and Anthony back to third, but Theodore just had a bit of a moment there into 9, but almost looked ready to... Oh, sorry, legs cramped up a bit. But yeah, it looks like the Alfa Romeos, who had such a strong weekend in Australia, now have to face a bit of adversity. This is going to drop Oliver right down to the back of the pack. Obviously Charlie's too far back to be factored into this, so he'll drop in behind Leslie, whose race has been completely and utterly ruined by the safety car. So does Oliver come in? No, he doesn't. He actually elects to stay out for this one. I know that there is a well, I don't know if you call it a glitch. In fact, Leslie's in. Has he got wing damage or no? He's just must be doing what I did. No, he's serving the drive-through. I didn't actually see anything pop up for him on that one, so he must have got caught under the virtual as well. So that's a bit unfortunate for Leslie as well, who missed the Australian race due to his internet cutting out 20 minutes before the race. And of course we missed him in the commentary box for Tier 1, so he'll be back at rearing. Got Amar right on the back of... I wonder if Oliver might be just being a little deceptive here and trying to ensure that Jerome doesn't get near his teammate. I'm not sure why he would do that, but it's obviously, or in saying that he could be trying to back Jerome as much into Anthony as possible. But I don't know why he would play such a game like that, but he's staying out again. He's really pushing this. Unless there's something that we don't know. I'm just going to have I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to have a quick look at the race director, and I'm just going to check something out here. No, they were both given drive-through, so my thought behind that might have been that it might have been a glitch that actually... I'll just hold my breath here for a second while Jerome has a look around the outside of thing, and now he's ghosting.
Ghosting too.
Jerome's ghosting on my end. That's interesting. Anyway, my thought behind it would have been that maybe it was a glitch and it showed Oliver getting the drive-through when it was actually Stuart that got it, but just by showing this, it's definitely both of them, so Oliver's just pushing his luck.
He's got to serve it this lap or he's disqualified.
Unless he thinks that unless he thinks of that glitch where if you don't serve it you get a 20-second time penalty, but that only happens if you get a drive-through and there's not enough laps left to complete it. So he'll be hoping that Jeff has come on the radio and told him if you don't serve it this lap you're going to be disqualified. Is he peeling off? Doesn't look like it didn't look like it originally, but the other thought that I maybe took into it is maybe he didn't see the prompt.
Yeah, I mean it does remind you every lap once you do get that. Ooh.
See what I spin curve.
Fatality.
And it's another virtual, so this actually ever so slightly bails Oliver out. But by saying that, it's only bailing him out by like maybe a
few seconds.
Well, maybe a few seconds at best, but obviously, yeah, so Leslie has done it on the auto spin curve at 11. Which is unfortunate. It does trap a lot of people. It's just one of those kind of corners that you need to use as much of that corner as you can to avoid going wide and getting invalidations or penalties in that. And actually I have to say I'm quite surprised so far that I don't think I've seen any 3-second penalties being applied to anyone for exceeding track limits. There's actually sorry, there is one there for David Creedon.
For David.
But yeah, nobody.
Only one in the whole lobby. Oh, Amar.
What, do we get Amar with a just speed? Oh no, Amar's actually had it.
No, he just looped it on the restart.
Probably got a bit too eager and where did he get any damage from that one?
And there's more wing missing.
It's in that same spot. It's almost like it's completely fragile. So the Alfa Romeo woes just go from bad to worse to even worse. So the Mercedes now pull out with Piers Langford in a commanding 5-second lead over Jerome, and Anthony holding down P3, though he's got a very hard charging Theodore Dragishi on his doorstep. It looks like it's going to be another healthy points finish for Boniface as well. In fact, both Alphas are in. Oliver's got damage as well.
What? What happened?
That would be an interesting one, but yeah, Oliver's got damage in the same exact spot, and he'll be... So what has gone on there? Has Oliver had a similar accident somewhere, or is he... Well, they're both going on the soft, so... And they're both on the points too, so I suppose at the end of that, as long as they're still in the race, they're going to get points. So the only person at this point who wasn't going to get points was Pedro. And then obviously, yeah, so had Creedon and Leslie both completed 90%, they would have been classified, but since they haven't, it won't be the case. But yeah, one of these two is definitely going to be going for fastest lap, and Mars actually come out just behind Charlie Mino, who's still playing catch up from his misdemeanor, which was a drive-through and then a pit stop. So Amar can still at least salvage 6. We got Theodore coming in. Has Theodore got damage? No, this is a strategy change. So he's committing to his 2-stop, even though, based on where he pit, he would have easily have made it back on the mediums.
Yeah, he's only going to lose out on one spot.
So Leslie's comment, don't really understand that drive-through penalty. Well, obviously we can't really understand it either, because we don't see the deltas for the drivers when they're there. So if probably something that, well, and Mino does the fastest lap of the race at 29 flat. That's not bad. As he gets overtaken by Amar. Oh, imagine that, feeling like you're the fastest guy on the track and then you just get overtaken straight away. And Amar now exceeds us. And Mino will come back on it. It's a very the problem with, oh, there's contact. Just enough to be a nuisance, but yeah, turn like the main straight DRS into the next DRS is a little stupid in a way, because it's calibrated by, unlike Mexico where you go down the main straight and you get the DRS, and then you will have DRS into the next thing regardless of whether you're in front or behind the person. Here in Bahrain there's an activation point on the main straight, so if you're still not ahead of if you're ahead of the guy that you overtook with DRS, they get the DRS on you. So it's very hard to make a committed overtake into turn 1 and make it stick, knowing that you'll be safe into turn 4, because obviously if you don't get the best run out of 2 and 3, the person behind has the DRS and they just easily go back at you. So, and that was a good example of that. So it's Mercedes 1-2, Williams 3-4. It's quite, as Amar does a 28-3, which is understandable given he's on the softs. But yeah, the two Williams guys are just doing what they do best, and that's just scoring as much points as possible.
Just quietly going about the race.
And theoretically, just paying attention, Oliver's...
Oh, no, Oliver's out.
Now, based on, yeah, since the virtuals come out, because of that, that would be under the presumption that he has actually put that into the fence deliberately. And if you look at where he is on the track, it's just right on the exit of the pit entry, so I would say he's probably just turned right to try and pluck the wheel off. So we don't usually tolerate that kind of stuff here, so especially when it jeopardizes a race system like such. But anyway, I was just making a point there that, well, not now, because the gap's obviously with the virtual people chopping and changing, trying to figure out whether they're in the delta or not in the delta or not. Anthony was catching Jerome, but looking at that gap between Jerome and Anthony, looking how big that is, I wouldn't be surprised if Jerome ends up with a drive-through, because that's quite a gap. Unless Anthony played it too cautiously. Because that was only 2.1 seconds when the virtual comes out. It's now 3.4. So I think Anthony was just too conservative.
Too conservative.
So we've gone from 11 cars down to 7. two of which are pretty much battling for the wooden spoon, although I think Amar's got that battle pretty much sussed out and he's actually proceeding. I don't think... Obviously, there's still a few laps left to go, so anything can happen. So, of the runners, Amar is the only driver so far with a 3-second time penalty to his name. There are a lot of warnings, but I don't know if they're all in. So, Oliver has made a statement about being for having to go 4 miles in 4 kilometers an hour into a corner to avoid getting pinged, and we've just lost Aaron Boland, who's just left the national server. Now, he had a bit of an altercation in the US regions race and was prompted to quit there too, so you'd probably be best to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Must have happened, something happened in the tier 3 race, but at the moment it is definitely looking like a complete Mercedes washout for the top 4, and a Mercedes 1-2, which we've pretty much almost come to expect now in actual Formula 1. For those who don't know, Lewis Hamilton is on pole position from Valtteri Bottas, no surprises there. Probably the only biggest surprise in it is how bad Ferrari are doing. 9th and 11th. Funny that. But that's a subject for probably Transnation Superstars next weekend. Double episode. Well, back-to-back episodes for Transnation Superstars. We are back on air for that, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 2 years since we last had our last episode of Transnation Superstars. But we are back and we run at 9 AM New Zealand Standard Time on Saturday. So that's Friday for European and American players. It's a talk show, basically a podcast, but we do play Cards Against Humanity as well. So I think episode 2 is going to be a Cards Against Humanity episode, so stay tuned for that one. We've got some nice new cards that we've been able to adapt from between beta season and this season, with some Formula 1 and some outside cards that used to be played in the actual game. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's always a bit of a good laugh and good chance to back Mackenzie at every given approach. So, and the only reason I'm ad-libbing it at the moment is because we've got a very spread out field. Almost nearly every car is a corner behind each other. So if you look at Pierce, he's just gone through 13. Jerome's just going through 11. Sorry, no, that's 12. So, and then as Jerome goes through 12, Anthony goes through 11. Then as he goes through 11, Boniface goes through 10. So they're almost separated by a whole corner. And we enter lap 27 of 29, and it is just looking like it's a clear Piers Langford race win. We never really had any doubt about it probably, although we were, like I say, we were surprised to see Jerome keeping with him now, but obviously as the tyre strategies and the safety car strategies have all kind of shuffled out differently, and things like that. I'm just going to have a quick look at the Discord and see if there's anything that transpired. No, nothing here that suggests any reason for him to have just abruptly left. I don't have any messages either. No, nothing there. So, nothing changed while I had my head down. No, it looks like we're all good to go. So, yeah, don't know what's happened there. So, must have been something in the race. Anyway, we enter lap 28 now of 29, and Pierre Langford has a 7.1 second, or now 7.2 second lead over his teammate Jerome Nicholas, with Anthony 4.1 seconds behind. So Anthony just doing what he does best, and that's just staying out of trouble, just trying to stay as consistent as possible, and he's got a 10.7 second gap over his teammate. So it's going to be another decent points hole for Williams, as well as, of course, Mercedes will bounce back from their unfortunate race in Australia where Jerome left the session early and Pierre from the lead made a mistake and ended up having to play catch up to a P4 finish. So it's almost a bit of a roles reversal for the fortunes of the team. So Alfa Romeo, who came into this weekend having finished 1 and 3 on the 1 and 3 in the race, now have got only one car left in 6th place, and then the Mercedes have kind of bounced back with a bit more vengeance with what's going to be a 1-2 finish. So obviously Mercedes are going to probably take the constructors lead knowing this, unless Amar can get up to P3, which right now is a very, very, very tall order. As it is, Theodore won't be able to attack Boniface, even though the tyre differences is quite vapid. The gap isn't actually dropping that much between Boniface and Theodore either. It's actually, if anything, it's going up. So obviously the Hards have managed to kick themselves into gear. Boniface just a little bit tardy coming out of the corner, but he wasn't overtaken down the straight, so he probably was just a little bit over-eager. I'm a bit surprised that despite having a 7-second lead over Jerome, Pierce is still using his overtake button to... It's like, I mean, what are you trying to... What?
I don't think he could push for fastest lap at this point.
I'm not seeing any magical numbers appearing in the leaderboard or anything like that, and we've just been joined in the commentary box by Harry, but we'll just ignore him for the time being. So Piers Langford's going to come around the penultimate bend, and Charlie Mino does the fastest lap of the race at 1:27.2, so he will take the point away from, I think it was Amar originally. So Piers Langford comes around the last corner. We thought he was going to do it in Australia. It didn't come to be, but he comes back and he proves his worth and wins the Bahrain Grand Prix for the Assist Tier Division 1. He doesn't get the fastest lap. Jerome will cross the line and make it a Mercedes 1-2. And Anthony will make it a Mercedes powered engine 1-2-3. And then Boniface will come around and make it a 1-2-3-4 for Mercedes powered engine cars. So that's not something you see too often in any sport, but a well-deserved performance from him. So we'll unmute Anthony, because obviously he's on the podium. We'll have a chat with Anthony now while we get Piers and Jerome in. So Anthony, congratulations on the podium finish. Qualifying didn't look to be too good in your favour at first, but then it looks like you've bounced back through for what I think was P5, and you've just stayed out of people's way. Obviously, a lot of drivers in front of you did also have a few altercations as well, a few drive-throughs and a few incidences along the way, but with the way the field is operating, I'm guessing it's really just a matter of taking the podiums as you can get them. For God's sake, Evo. Honestly though, I hate asking questions and then just being totally ignored. Anthony, are you with us? No. No, he must have had me muted. Jerome, have we got you? Save us. Jerome, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Okay, so congratulations, P2. After a miserable race in Australia, it's good to see you have bounced back. Very good pace at the very start of the race to keep in touch with your teammate. Obviously, a change in strategy saw you go originally what looked to be a 2-stop, which you then re-elected to change to a 1-stop in the, well, I wouldn't say a 1-stop, but obviously you elected to change back to the hard tyre for under the safety car condition, which probably wasn't the most bad of calls to make. It's helped you secure position 2, and it's a Mercedes engine power 1, 2, 3, 4, so you must be thrilled about that.
Yeah, it's a good race. Both Mercedes had consistent pace throughout qualifying and their race. I went to go for the hards because I picked up a 5-second penalty when pitting for the medium, so I thought I might as well just get this 5-second penalty done now. Otherwise, if I didn't do that, then I would have lost P2 to Anthony, as I was about 4.7 seconds in front of him at the finish line. But no, it was a good race from everyone. It's just a shame about the attendance, but hopefully we can fix and have a better race next race.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate circumstance there. Michael, do you have anything you want to add to Jerome before we move along?
He looked good today.
Thank you.
It was a little unfortunate with the penalty, but obviously he thought on his toes and got that out of the way and put in a solid P2. Obviously, it's going to be hard for anybody to catch his teammate.
Yeah.
So, congrats, Jerome.
Thank you.
Anthony.
Yo.
Okay, finally we got you. I gave you a full-blown bloody speech and you full-on ignored me. I'm quite salty. I actually don't feel like interviewing you now. Yeah, exactly. I feel like not answering. Anyway, so you come home P3. It was P4 last weekend. You qualified. Well, you qualified and looked a bit under threat a little bit at the start. Obviously, you didn't seem to push anything out. You gave your teammate a tow, which actually for the first time I've ever seen. So that's.
Whoa, I do it all the time.
Well, we generally 90% of the time seeing you getting the tow.
We see it the other way around.
Yeah, so.
Because I do it to him early on, he does it to me late on.
Yeah, so this time around it was a bit different. But anyway, so you got through the field. Obviously, there was quite a bit of attrition in the way of drivers getting drive-throughs and penalties and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good result for you, but obviously you would have wanted to have raced against the likes of Oliver and all that for the podium. But with the field as tight as it is, I'm guessing it's just a matter of taking them as you can get them.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind if they come easy or if I have to struggle. I'll take a P3 all day.
Yeah, sometimes modesty is not always the greatest approach to this. You should have been a bit more modest about that one, but we'll just swing that one under the bridge.
Mate.
Just wait and see if I get on the podium today, and I'll show you how it's done.
So you don't have to wait for that.
Anyway, we'll leave you to it, unless Michael has any added.
Just a normal congratulations. You and your teammate have a way of just staying out of trouble and slowly creeping your way up. And yeah, so look to see more of that this year.
And now we go to our race winner, Piers Langford. You made a mistake in Australia and managed to claw your way back up to P4, which was a good result there. You obviously qualified on pole quite convincingly there too, I think, as well. So, and then you come here and you knock everyone's block off with a 24. What was it? 24.8, and you know, you're kind of making these guys look a little bad out there, mate. But either way, good car control, good pace, no mistake free today. Good result, and as I had said to Jerome, a Mercedes powered 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as a main Mercedes 1, 2 must be feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, it was a great race. And, yeah, pretty just consistent. Just try not to make any mistakes like I did in Australia, and just keep on the track really. And it's just this isn't Amar's best track. I know it's not, so I'm sure in Vietnam and a few other tracks he'll bring back. And sort of same with Jerome as well. Just one of my favourite tracks really, so just glad to get.
And on top of that, just a little personal question I noticed. I noticed you were running the 88 today as opposed to the 97. Any particular reason for that change?
No, I know why, because my customization like glitched out. I've just changed my whole personal thing, so it's changed completely. I need to change it back.
Yeah.
So like numbers and like characters change. I need to change it.
Because I was kind of interested to see what the 97 looked like on the Mercedes since I run it in the regionals with that number as well. So, bit unfortunate, but at least I know what the 88 is probably going to look like come that time. But anyway, Michael, you got any final additions?
I gotta ask him. Obviously, a very, very good quali lap, but was there any more in it, or was that all you get? All you had?
Obviously, it's probably the best lap I could do for like my second lap. But I think if I did the same, obviously if I did like the same lap further on, I could get a 10 just with track evolution. But I didn't leave much on the table really.
Alright, well...
Modesty, a refreshing change for once. So, without further ado, it's very hard to kind of dice between who would give Driver of the Day to, but I probably would give it... I actually would agree with the game and give it to Alex Boniface there for coming from P5 to P10 to P5, P4, and very unfortunate for Oliver and Leslie. They had good pace, they just got compounded by a drive-through, and then of course they both ended their races prematurely, but I'm sure they'll come back to Vietnam. Every time I say it, it just deflates me.
Vietnam next.
So luckily for me, I've at least got this race coming up in, what do we got, half an hour's time for the tier 2 no assist, tier 1 no assist, and tier 3 no assist, which is coming up in half an hour's time. We go to Bahrain, of course, for that, and then the regionals all kick off with Vietnam. I just want to cry. Anyway, Bree Keenan, Michael Guerin Jr. signing out from Bahrain, and we'll unfortunately catch you next week at Vietnam. Thanks for watching.